Hi, it's Tootie Tagerly coming to you close to noon Pacific time from the west coast of the United States in San Francisco. And today, like many of us, thinking about what's happening in Europe, what's happening in the Ukraine and Russia, and thinking about how you keep going, how you keep going and lead when the world is in crisis. How do you keep going with your everyday job, your everyday life, your worries that seem so mundane, whether it's writing marketing copy or sitting through another meeting, talking about launch plans and PR plans. How do you do that when the world is in crisis? And external context is everything. I remember there were periods of my life where I would put on that armor, put on that hard-headed hard hat, and just get right down to business. Just be like, all right, we're here. We're here to talk about this agenda. Let's just run right through it. And there can be an armor that we put over it, that we put over us, and that can shield us and get us through a lot of the day. But know that there's a price for that, that we are all global citizens. We all live in this world. And the external context of what's happening in Europe, what's happening at the Supreme Court, what's happening with the latest report on climate change, it's there and it affects everything. And it affects some people differently. It affects you very differently if you have close personal relationships with Russians or people in the neighboring or Ukrainians or people in the areas. And that is okay. It is okay to feel down or slower or hopeless to when all of this news is bombarding you. And it's also okay to be someone who wants to carry on and use it as a distraction. Both are okay, but the external context is there, and it does affect everything, whether you're on one side or the other side. And the reason why is that it is really hard to live in a world of uncertainty and the unknown. Ben Horowitz talks a lot about the concept of there's two different types of CEOs. There's wartime CEOs and there's peacetime CEOs. And in a wartime, when you're in a crisis, sometimes it's actually easier to see the path forward because the focus comes down to be that, all right, here's this thing's happening. How do we automatically move into doing A, B, and C to move us out of this mode? I was texting with a friend and client who lives in St. Petersburg, and when the ruble is collapsing, when you're not quite sure if your bank accounts are going to be frozen, when all of this stuff is happening, there is a laser focus of crisis mode of like, okay, this is what we do in here. The bigger thing is unknown and the bigger thing is uncertain, but there are some next steps. And then similar, so that's a wartime CEO. A peacetime CEO, maybe, hey, I don't know what's going on with the pandemic now. I don't know what's going on with supply chain issues. All of this is hard, but even through all of those scenarios, the unknown and uncertainty, we gotta keep going. We gotta keep moving forward because we can't wallow in it. Take some time for sure, but you gotta keep moving forward. And here's what helps with it. Um, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling uncertain, when you're feeling impatient and not sure what to do, hyper focus helps. Another word for hyper focus is simply being present, but that can feel a little too woo, a little too hippie, a little too focus on my breath and breathe. I think they're the same thing. It's being hyper focused to what's happening. If you're in a meeting, not multitasking and paying attention to what that particular person is saying in case it's relevant to you. It's getting into the stage of energy and flow because you're making something, because you're creating a design, a spreadsheet, whatever it is, writing. Slowing down, being in the present, staying hyper focused helps with flow and helps with the uncertainty, the world being in crisis, all the stuff out there, because this is the focus that we can be in right now. The other thing that helps is connecting and building relationships. That scenario that I talked about earlier, walking to a meeting, putting the armor on, no nonsense, let's get down to business. Let's try another approach. You know, what if when you start the meeting, you look around and you be like, hey, how's everyone feeling about what's happening today? Just take a pause. It doesn't need to be more than a couple minutes, 5 minutes of a meeting. Take a pause and connect and check in. Really, really care about how everyone's doing. And use this experience, use this shared sense of weathering a crisis together, weathering just the uncertainty of this news cycle together, and have that experience together and build the relationships. Because that human connection, even over Zoom, even better if it's in person, but that human connection really, really helps make it easier to say, yeah, how do you lead when the world is in crisis? Well, you do it together. You do it with other people. You do it in communion together. And then finally, know that it's okay to slow down. Know that it's okay if you can't concentrate or you feel scattered or all over the place because all of these threads are pulling in your head, and watching yet another video of the attacks may or may not help, but slowing down is okay, whether it's right now because the world is in crisis or any other time. And so much of my work as a designer and studying creativity, you can't force inspiration, innovation, creativity, productivity. You can't force it on a timeline. It's okay if you need to take a day, a mental health day, some extra time. It's okay to slow down and do that because that will make you more resilient. That ensures a more scalable way of longer term achievement driven success. And know that right now, when the world is in crisis, it's even more crucial and more okay to slow down, whether it's for an hour, a day, a week, or months. All right, so running back through, how do you lead when the world is in crisis? Know that it's normal to not feel normal because the external context affects everything. Know that it's extra hard because of the uncertainty and the unknown, for whether you live in Europe or somewhere else. And what helps? Being hyper focused and present in your work, in the meeting, in the Netflix video you're watching. That hyper focus helps with flow. The other thing that helps is connecting, checking in with other people and building relationships. And finally, know that it's okay. It's okay to slow down. All right, that's it for today. I'll see you next Tuesday.